This will be the only budget solo travel guide you need to travel with a limited amount of money. And to give you some notice about me, I'm basically a brokie working a 9 to 5 job. I've traveled personally over 10 countries in 41 days. And today we'll be using a case example of a budget for Bali for 10 days for $1,200. And you can definitely do it for even lower. And we'll use Bali because it's pretty close to where I am, which is in Sydney. And it's a good amount just to start off at with a low budget. We can't do $500 because that's going to be the plane ticket amount. But yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into it. So I want you, first things first, is pick your country. Question yourself on the proximity and the costing amount. So some questions you can ask yourself is, what is the current closest country best for you? What is your current budget? Is it $1,000? Is it $2,000? How long do you want to go there for? You know, $2,000 for 10 nights. How long do you want to go there for? There's a country you're going to have a relatively cheap spending amount. For example, traveling somewhere in Europe, like Switzerland, will be way more expensive than traveling to somewhere like Bali or anywhere in Southeast Asia, like Thailand or Vietnam. And maybe this is a question where if you really can't decide to pick a country, but which country gives you a fuck yeah feeling rather than a meh feeling? And to give you some examples, let's say for me here in Australia, I can travel to Indonesia, which is in Bali. I can travel to Vietnam. I can travel to South Korea. I can travel to Japan. These are countries which are close to me and countries I like going to. Or if you're somewhere in America, you can go to Mexico, anywhere in South America. Or if you're anywhere like from England or anywhere in the European countries, there's a lot of neighboring countries you can go to. So yeah, make sure proximity is the star question you ask yourself. Which one is the closest country to you? And what's your budget coming in? Let's just say, for example, for us, the budget is 1,200 for 10 nights because this is a budget solo travel guide. So yeah, these are the countries you should ask yourself when you want to go on a budget country, and just kind of think realistically and common sense to what you want to do. Next, we want to use Google Flights for plane tickets because Google Flights is goated. And to give you a reference example, I actually spent basically $974 or $825 for my flight to Bali, but it doesn't have to be this expensive because I booked this flight 1 month before I went there. So if you look even at flights for Bali now, the tickets only cost about $500. And if you look back on our plan for our budget, like that's basically the amount the flights would be. And this is like a general allocation to how the costings would go. But throughout the video, maybe we'll find cheaper expenditures, which means we can move stuff around. But plane tickets are always, of course, something you should look forward to and look for cheaper pricings. Like say, for example, if you're in America and you want to go from like say let's say let's just use Sydney as an example. Let's say you want to go Sydney to Bali, December 2026. So that's about 500. So 500 to $600. So yeah, we'll use $500 as the budget price amount. And make sure the plane tickets you purchase. Make sure you, as a general rule of thumb, you should always purchase 2 to 3 months beforehand, because that's when the tickets are going to be the cheapest, and anytime afterwards is just going to cost too much. Next things next, plan what and where to go. Have a general plan and a general vibe check of what you want the trip to be. Do you want it to be relaxing? Do you want it to be hectic? Do you want both? And the amount of days will be informed by your budget from before and your ticket. So if you're going for 10 days, let's say for Bali, we want to go 10 days. We'll do 4 days in Canggu, 3 days in Ubud, 3 days Uluwatu. But make sure to have at least a couple locations you want to go to, and make sure that since you're traveling on a budget amount, that you'll be sacrificing convenience for comfort. I mean, you'll be sacrificing comfort for convenience because you don't have a lot to spend with. And you can use Google or ChatGPT to kind of plan a general gist of what you want to do. But for example, in Bali, you can go to places like Ubud, Canggu, Uluwatu, and so on. And make sure they're all pretty close to proximity. Having a general plan is better because you can know what places to book for the accommodation here, which is the next step, so that you don't trip and fall and just kind of wing it, which is, yeah. And the general rule I want you to apply with planning stuff is having a balance of, let's say, 50% planned, 50% planned, and then 50% is spent on free time. So this is a general rule. I use like 50-50 rule, but maybe you like to plan more. You can do 70% plan, 30% free time. And, let's just say I want to do let's do a 70%, 30% planned and 30% free time split for a 10-day in Bali. Let's say it's Bali. We'll ask ChatGPT, good old ChatGPT, to do this. We go Canggu, Ubud, Uluwatu, like I mentioned. And it gives me 10 days here, 7 days planned, 3 days just fuck around. And this is important to have, because if you have some free time, you can relax and rejuvenate. When you have everything to plan, it gives you a lot more stress and your expectations get higher because you have so much things that you want to do. And because of that, you'll fuck up your trip. And especially if this is your first solo trip and because you're on a budget, it's like it screws up your head and doesn't give you the time to relax and be free to do whatever you want. So I recommend anyone who's even on a budget solo trip, just have some time to yourself, have some time to explore stuff, and yeah, have a general plan so that you don't waste money. You don't waste money spending it on random stuff. Have a bit of a plan. Next thing's next, accommodation. I always want you to book hostels rather than hotels. That's basically a must if you go on a budget. And to give you some examples here, we have two places. Let's say we're gonna do Canggu and Ubud. Well, I just did here 5 days Canggu, 5 days Ubud. And these are two places I found. So one place was in Lushi. Actually, let me search it up for you so that I can explain to you how to book through Hostel World and look for places which are ideally cancelable. But let's look for places in Canggu in Bali so that you can know how to book it and how to work around with different budgets so that you don't spend endlessly. So if we do Canggu and Ubud, we do Canggu in Bali. I'm going to change the search result here. Sometimes it gets a bit cooked, but we'll just do Canggu in Indonesia. I'm going to apply it here. So I was mentioning Lushi before because this is one of the places. Lushi Hostel. Dorm's about $15. You just go here. It has all the details, and you can just add. And there's also free cancellation here, which is good. And like I mentioned here, $76. Like the image over here. So that's a bit of a rundown on. It's pretty simple. It's like just search for it and you'll find it. But the total amount here is 89 plus 76. So this is about $165 for accommodation. This is actually pretty cheaper than I originally thought because our budget was about 300, but I just put some excess there, and the plane ticket is about, let's say, 550 plane ticket. So far we've used 715 so far. 715 for the budget. And yeah, hostels will always, some details on hostels you'll be sharing, we'll be sharing it with people, and I know that it will suck if you're an introvert, but like I mentioned, you're gonna have to sacrifice comfort for budget / convenience here. That's the general rule I want you to apply when it comes to budget. That's the general mindset you should have. Budget for my convenience. God dang. For convenience. And with the food, we set basically a amount of $140 basically for the foods and activities. Also forgot to tell you guys here, but make sure to also spend $50. Make sure to spend some money on the health insurance, the visa, and eSIM. Health insurance is a must. eSIM's are a must. Visa is only needed for some specific countries in Southeast Asia, like Bali, even Vietnam. So make sure to get all the admin stuff sorted out. I should have added that as a step, but get the admin stuff sorted out here. Yeah, get your admin stuff sorted out right then and there. But back to food. So the food in Bali is pretty good and it's relatively cheap, but you can go to different rorongs in Canggu and in Bali, or just even in general countries, just make sure that the price options, what other budget options you have in those countries. And like for example, I picked this place called Rorong Local, which is 25,000 rupees, and if you convert it like the high amount, it's about $6 basically. So imagine $6 for per day, $6 for like morning, dinner, lunch. It's like $18 basically. You'll try different places, but let's say per person, which is you, and then you times it by say 10 days, so that's only about 180. That's actually more than I thought, but this is like the high amount. So if we want to go 140, then you just cut down a bit. So yeah, it's food is pretty simple. You just find the budget options. Just have some precautions when it comes to food. For example, street food can be a bit can have food poisoning sometimes, especially in Bali. Avoid ice. So when it comes to food and drinks and whatever, just be aware of food safety precautions. That's a general rule with budget food. But yeah, should be pretty simple. Set up just such a cheap restaurant, whatever you're going to, and yeah, should be fine. The activities, are there any free options? What's the budget for this? And so the budget for this one is about 140. Just with free options, like maybe think of free walking tours, just search up free activities around you. But if you have like we'll have a budget for this, so we have about 140 for this. I searched up online even like what are some cheap activities you can do in Bali, and they mentioned like for example the Rice Terrace, which is this infamous nice location. You can go for a Balinese massage for about $8 an hour. You can go to some free beaches, free waterfalls. There's surfing lessons you can do. You can go to a ring workshop. You can go to a quad biking event. You can go to a beach club. You can go to a monkey village, clubbing, yoga, wellness. Just think of like what are some must-do activities here at this country which I can't do at home. And you just search that up online through ChatGPT, and also allocate it to what your budget is, and you're good to go. But yeah, just question yourself on first things first. First things first, what are the free activities? And then if you can't find any, what are some must-do paid activities? And then if you're more luxury, like what are some really cool activities? So say for example like skydiving, quad biking, I don't know, jumping off a cliff or something, cliff jumping, something crazy, just that's pretty simple for these activities. Free activities, paid activities, really cool activities. And I'll end this video by saying you should always bring extra cash even when you're on a budget, because you never know what could happen. You could break your phone, you could lose possessions as much as I don't want you to. You could, I don't know, for some reason, bank cancelled, card lost. Always just have it's always better to be safe than sorry. So yeah, this is basically the only budget guide you need. I made it pretty simple so that you guys can follow through these steps. If you want to basically solo travel with a budget, I want you to pick a country which is close to you so that the plane tickets are cheap. Make sure that the plane tickets you book are 2 to 3 months in advance. And also, I forgot to add, but book your leave in advance so that you have everything sorted and you can actually go on the vacation. Make sure to book in advance with the plane tickets. Have a general plan on what you want to do so that you can plan for the accommodation ahead. When you plan accommodation, book a hostel rather than a hotel, because sharing with people is cheaper and you will be able to socialize with people. The food is pretty simple, just search up pretty cheap foods around you, but be cautious of any food health concerns. The activities, make sure to go through a list of 3 activities first. Some of them must-dos that are pretty cheap. What are some pretty cool, luxurious must-dos you can do? And that should be pretty simple. And then last things last, always bring extra cash, even if it's a budget trip. But yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.